Today, I'm going to be reviewing my variable and sinking funds budget for the second pay period of September. Then I'm going to be cash stuffing $387 to cover the next 2 weeks. And then I've got to break down this ridiculous $757 electricity bill that I'm paying in the next few days. If you're new here, I'm K-Mac and I'm on a debt freedom journey. I started this channel with just over $21,000 of debt, and now I'm finally down to the last $12,000. On this channel, I share my real journey, from the emergencies to the mistakes and all the lessons I'm learning along the way. If this kind of content interests you, I ask that you pull up a chair and consider subscribing. But with no further ado, let's go ahead and get into today's content. All right, you guys, thank you for stopping in. Hope you pulled up a chair. Let's go ahead and go over this budget. All right, guys, so here's my budget for the 16th of September. As you can see, I got a lot of items crossed out. That's because I had to make some adjustments because of this electricity bill that I wasn't really expecting. But I'm glad I'm handling it, to be honest. I'm glad I'm about to get this out the way, and I'll explain later. All right, let's go over this budget. All right, for my food budget, I went from $150 to $200. And the reason why is because $150 wasn't quite enough. So I bumped it up an extra $50 to see how I do with that. Toiletries, last week, I added $30 to my cash stuffing envelope. I decided not to because of this $757 that I'm going to talk about later. So we're not going to contribute anything to toiletries. Fuel, we're going to cash stuff $100. Car maintenance, nothing. Car registration, $15. It's because that's coming up pretty soon. Home repair, we're not going to add anything to the envelope for home repair. American Home Shield, the service fee, we're not going to contribute anything this month. Well, this pay period. Same with life insurance, nothing for this pay period. Pet emergency, we're going to contribute $41 to our pet emergency envelope. For wants, we have our annual gym fee. That's $3. We're going to contribute to that. Haircut, $50. Lawnmower, $50. Weed and feed, $10. Pest control, $25. And buffer, $0. As you guys can see, the actual amount that I took out from the bank was $494. And the reason why I'm only cash stuffing $387 is because I've already went to the grocery store. I went to the grocery store and I spent $107 at the grocery store. So the food is covered for this week, and whatever's remaining, we'll buy whatever we need next week. And I'll let you guys know in my next video how that went. So let's go ahead and get into the cash stuffing part. All right, so we got food. So we took out 107, right? So, I mean, I already know it's 93, but for the sake of math, let's go ahead and see how much we need to cash stuff. All right, cool, 93, right? Let's go ahead and add 93. So 20, 40, 60, 80, 90, 1, 2, 3. All right, food's done. Fuel, we got $100. Same thing, 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. Let's go ahead and use all the 20s here. Next, we got, let's see, what else? Whatever, we just go straight to lawnmower. So for lawnmower, we got $50. Go 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. It's almost September. September is usually when the grass stops growing. So pretty soon I'll be able to save some money on lawnmower. Anyway, car registration, $15. We got 5, 10, 15. So we got 5, 10, 15. Let's see how much we got in car registration now. So that should be 30. Yes. 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Cool. Pet emergencies, $41. Go 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 41. 41 here. And we're going to add that up. So we got 20, 41. That makes 82. Simple mental math. But yeah, 82. Next, we have annual gym fee. That's $3. 1, 2, 3. That should have brought my total to $6. Remember, this is annual. So this will build over time. This is a sinking fund. It'll build over time. A haircut, $50. 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 50. Next we have, what is it? Pest control. That's $25. So we got, 10, 20, 25, which brings my total. So that's 25 here. That's 30, 35, 40, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55. My total of 55. That's the weed and feed. Now we got weed and feed, and that's $10. We got our last 10, and that brings it to 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. $20 for the weed and feed. Lastly, and I found one of my envelopes and realized I didn't pull any of the money out of it. So what I decided to do was take the money and add it to my food budget, because 9 times out of 10, I'm going to eat myself out of budget opposed to spending it elsewhere. So we're going to add this. So we got 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 50. So we're going to add 50 back to the food envelope. Well, not back to, but to the food envelope, which should bring that to, what is that, $143? Let's see. Let's see what we got here. We got, I like to keep my denominations in order. I don't know. 20, 40, okay. Got the 5s there. 10, and we got 1. All right. So it should be 143 if I'm not mistaken, but let's see. Let's see what we got. So we got 20, 40, 60, 80, 90, 100, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 1, 2, 3. Yes, 143. All right, there we go. So we got everything all cash stuffed. What is that? Is that 387? 387. Oops. 387 plus 50. That's $437. So we actually cashed up $437. So still pretty close to what I took out, even though I spent some money. This should get me through the next 2 weeks. But yeah, before I go over this electricity bill, I want to share with you guys my debt payoff, how I'm going to try to pay off my debt as soon as possible. So if you're new here, earlier this year, I did a debt transfer to an account that offered a 0% interest. Well, this offer expires on April 1st, 2026. So I have a little over 6 months to get this debt paid off. So what I ended up doing was taking my remaining balance and dividing that by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, by 6 months. So if everything goes well, there's no hiccups or anything like that. If I pay a little over $2,000 a month for the next 6 months, I'll be completely debt free. Is this possible? Yes. Is it going to be easy? No. But am I going to try? Abso-freaking-lutely. So this is the goal. This is the mission. And we have a date. We have a hard date here. And when I have a hard date, I lock in. So I know myself. I know I lock in when there's a hard date. I'll figure out what I need to do in order to make this happen. So hopefully this year I get a bonus from my job that will, expedite the payoff time. But if I don't get a bonus or anything like that, long as nothing goes wrong, nothing crazy goes on, I should have this paid off by the end of March. So that's my goal. I don't even want to wait till April. I want to get closer to early March to get this paid off. I know I said I wanted to get it paid off in December. I would still love to, but the way things have gone lately, it might not be possible, but who knows? I'm not going to say it's not possible, but I did want to have something a little more achievable and that I could follow, that I could keep up with. So if I do pay a little over $2,000 a month for the next 6 months, I will be completely debt free, and then I can go on about building my wealth and setting myself up for whatever I desire in the future. So yeah, so that's going to be the debt payoff. And let me go ahead and explain this electricity bill here. All right, guys. So what ended up happening was I was on someone's YouTube channel and they were questioning why this person was paying so much for their electricity. And I found it odd because who goes around talking about electricity bills, right? Well, I don't. You know, these aren't the conversations I'm having. So I was under the assumption that everyone in my area was paying somewhere around $300 something a month on electricity. I soon realized that no, that's not the case. In fact, I've been overpaying for years. And the reason why is because, well, there was a couple of reasons, but the biggest thing that stood out was that I was on an expiring contract. Texas is the electricity in Texas is deregulated. And you have all these different companies that I think it's like over 150 companies that sell electricity, right? And they all have different rates and fees and stuff like that they sell the electricity for. And I happen to be with TXU, very reputable, company. In fact, before I started doing a deeper dive, this is all I really knew, So started doing a little research, started looking around and realized I was paying 19 cents per kilowatt, and which is pretty high in my area. On average, it's about 9 to 12 cents per kilowatt hour here in Texas. So I started searching around, found some deals, and decided to go ahead and switch over to a different company. What I should have done was contact TXU and see if they offered something better. So I should have did more of a comparison strategy, meaning reach out to one company, see what plans they offer and what my rates would be, and then see what TXU's rates would be, with a new contract. But I didn't do that, and I decided to go ahead and go with another company. They got everything transferred over. There was no transfer fee, anything like that. But TXU, they want their money. So what they ended up doing was they removed a lot of the bonuses and stuff like that. Some of the perks were they would do average monthly billing, meaning on higher months, let's say my bill, as a matter of fact, this month, my bill was like $420 something. If I wasn't closing this out, they would move that amount down. They would spread it out to other months to try to keep my bill relatively the same. So if I had a $420 electricity bill, I would have probably been billed, let's say $325 or $350. And the remaining balance, they would spread it out throughout the months. So like on the cooler months when I'm not using as much electricity, that bill would still be higher. And what I found out was some of the perks and benefits that I had, such as the free nights, and I believe like some of the solar, I forgot the exact plan, but the biggest perk was the free nights. And what I realized was that I wasn't really using that much electricity at night. And that caused the charges to be higher, meaning closer to more like 23 cents per kilowatt hour. And what I found out was that these companies, they offer these packages to kind of sell you on the idea that you're getting this great deal, where in fact, it's not true, right? It's not true. So I didn't reap any benefits, maybe early on when I first signed up, but because I was on a month-to-month billing, I was paying a lot, right? And what I found out was that these companies are required to send you a notice, 30 days before your contract's up, so you can, decide if you want to change companies, switch plans, or whatever you decide to do. But they're supposed to give you notice. But for me, that's unfamiliar territory. That's something that I did not know. And, I thought it was like some other contracts where, they give you this one-time contract offer and then you just roll into a month-to-month. I didn't know that you could, negotiate a new contract in order to keep your bills lower. So that's just something I learned, something that I just picked up. I'm not sure if you know that or you knew that, but I didn't have anyone to teach me that. And who knows, maybe they mentioned it and I missed it. I wasn't really thinking at the time, but yeah, so that's what ended up happening. They charged me for the electricity for September. They charged me for the Encore, which is the to actually get the power, which is like an extra $120. And then they rolled over the fee for the average monthly billing, which brought the total to $757. And I got to pay it soon. I got to pay it on the 26th. So what I ended up doing was I pulled some money from my emergency fund, moved it over to my checking account. I moved $500 over, meaning I'm going to have to use $200 from what I would have cash stuffed to kind of cover the difference. So that's why I made the adjustments with my budget. So what I plan to do is pay this on the 25th, but I wanted to keep it as close to the end of the month. I wanted to keep it as close to the end of the month, just in case something happens and I need to move some money over, there's no hiccups. So yeah, that's what's going on with the electricity bill. And once we get that paid off, I'll be able to go to another company and my bill should be relatively lower. So I figured, you know what, I was going to pay this eventually, if I continued. So I don't look at this like a major L or anything like that. I just look at it like I was going to pay this over time. So what I ended up doing was just stopping them from charging me more, paid all the money I owed them. Now I'm going to be able to get a better rate, save some money, in these next upcoming months. So I'm definitely going to be mindful of that. And I made a note to myself I signed up for a 24-month contract. So I did set a reminder to remind me to renew or look for new electricity, around that time. So that's just something I wanted to share with you guys, a lesson learned. Do your due diligence, make sure you know all that's going on, especially with some of these contract services. So I suggest if you're in some sort of contract, if you think you're in the contract, go ahead and revisit your contract and see if anything expired and see if you can renegotiate, your contract. A lot of these companies will work with you. I did the same thing with my AT&T service. I recently switched from AT&T to Spectrum for internet service because I was paying $101 with AT&T. Now I'm over to Spectrum. That pretty much split that in half, and I'm getting the same quality of internet. So I made a note as well. That's a 12-month contract. So set reminders on some of these contracts. That way you don't roll into a month to month like I did and find yourself paying more money. So who knows how much money I could have saved had I known to get back into a contract or shop around for new deals. But for me personally, I guess I'm just kind of one of those people. Once I find a service, I just stick to it, which is probably not the healthiest, especially in this situation. But like a lot of times, once I find a service that works, I just stick with it unless it starts acting up. So yeah, that's my take on it. So thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a like down in the comments. Drop a money bag or leave a comment. Let me know your thoughts. If you enjoyed the